Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
Great to be with you on Blue White Eve.
Mm-hmm. Even though it is terribly weather outside-wise. It's terrible. It's nasty.
Game's not today.
I know.
And Fast
Pointing
Friday,
it out.
And Fast Friday's always indoors anyway.
Mm-hmm.
They went through the last full practice last night.
Good.
And then they'll do the Fast Friday practice today, which is good for the players that haven't been through it before, the freshmen.
What is Fast Friday, for those who don't know?
Well, they've really changed philosophy. I'm talking about, through workouts, analytics, things like that, where the thought process has gone from you do a lot on Tuesday, do a lot on Wednesday, taper down on Thursday, and then Friday you take it easier.
Mm-hmm. A faster practice, basically.
Well, okay, now they flipped it around. You now go same Tuesday, same Wednesday. Then they do a walkthrough on Thursday.
Okay.
But then they do this. There's no hitting. Okay. But more energy, right? To get the blood flowing, and also James goes through. Jeez, I don't know. I'm going to guess anywhere from 25 to 35 situations.
Goes through them all, covers them.
Well, it's not covering them. In other words, look, there are a lot of units out there. I mean, just on special teams, look how many units you have. You have kickoff return, kickoff coverage. You have punt return, punt coverage, field goal block, right?
Onside recovery.
Right? Onside, right? Things like that. You got to go through all of it. Well, he'll call it out. The players have to, on the unit, have to come out. Okay? Right? And then they have to execute whatever they have to do. But he wants to make sure that if something comes up in the game, they know, okay, I mean, how many free kicks do you see in a game after a safety? You don't. But the 1 week or the one time you don't put it in there, everybody's like, oh, okay, wait a minute, who goes out there now? Because it's not the same as a kickoff return.
It's different.
Right? There are differences. So that way everybody knows where they're supposed to be in case the situation arises. Okay? And that's what you try to do that. But it's all done with pace. It's all done in silence. In other words, everybody has to, listening. No, this is a no talking deal. And it's great for the players because, again, another point of emphasis, especially when guys get banged up. Well, suddenly the number 2 person's in there. Well, they got to make sure that, they're in there. Right? And you go from there. And you do that with units. They go through, it's really impressive. Let me put it this way. It's really impressive. I think the Lettermen are going to be there today. But it's impressive to see because on a football team, there's so many moving parts. It's been a really good spring. Really good. The energy and the competition has been excellent. The competition between offense and defense has been excellent. It doesn't mean there hasn't been a day where the offense has dominated there. It doesn't mean there hasn't been a day where the defense has dominated. That's happened. More often than not, there's been something that each side's been able to take out of it. That's good. Let's be blunt with everybody. James talked about this on Wednesday, so I'm not speaking out of turn. All right? Look, what they're going to do, they're going to do things, but it's going to be vanilla. Right? Because it's televised, with two new coordinators, three really, but two new coordinators primarily, because you don't do as much with special teams with this.
Yeah.
All right. With two new coordinators, you're going to have West Virginia looking at that tape like, what can we glean out of this? All right. You want them to keep looking at it as much Kansas tape as possible. You want them looking at as much Indiana tape as possible, and not so much
Penn State
tape. Okay? So, yeah, there will be a level of vanilla to it. The one thing I don't know, I'm only going to guess. I'm going to have to ask somebody today about this. If there's going to be a 2-minute warning in the game.
It's a good question. I don't think there is. There may not be.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because the 2-minute warning is coming up. Look, I mean, it's taken college forever. And I don't get this. This is the part I don't get, the technology part of it. Just, you sit there and go, wait a minute, this is college. Right? Why do high schools have tablets on the sideline with video? Well, finally, college is going to be able to do that. I think they're going to put, I don't know. I'm trying to remember. There's a number you're allowed to have. I think they may put 5 in the field, 3 upstairs, something like that. Whatever. So I think it's like a 5-3 split, where they've got video they can send them. And it's now the NFL. The NFL needs to get out of the archaic part too. I mean, the NFL. They're on the Microsoft Surface. Still pictures. Still pictures. Just show the video. Move on. But at least college this upcoming season will show the video. Radio communication in helmets. It's there. They are supposed to shut off in theory with 15 seconds to go before the snap. Does that eliminate hand signals? No. Because I'll give you an example. You're in hurry-up mode or you're in 2-minute mode. Right? It's one thing to tell the quarterback what you want, and he quickly relays it to the offensive line and the running backs, but the wide receivers are already out there. It's going to have to be signaled to them in some form. Also, it doesn't mean you can't throw in a hand signal after the shutoff at 15 seconds because you see something you want to change it.
Audible.
Right? So you can do so hand signals are not completely out. Even though you have this communication, and they've been, Andy talks directly to Bo and to Drew in practice all the time. I don't mean standing next to them. I mean, he's standing at the 50-yard line. They're down at the 20. So, I mean, that's in there. Plus, Tom can talk to the middle linebacker, who normally would be the person, whether it's Kobe or Tyler, that will have the green dot. You can always tell who has it. It's the green dot.
And I want to ask you, as we move into this game day, is there something you are going to be watching for? Of course, you'll have the best view of all from up top. You'll be able to see everything going on. Is there a player you're watching for? Are you watching for anything specific with, like, of course, as you've said, it's going to be pretty vanilla. It's going to be pretty bland in general.
You still have to execute.
Yeah. But is there someone you're going to be watching, someone you'd be interested to watch that's been in camp a little bit but you haven't seen enough of? You're like, I want to see how this guy plays. Is there someone, offense, defense, special teams, that you're intrigued by that we don't already know the name of? Because, of course, we already all know how the running backs are going to do.
Okay, tomorrow's the 15th practice. It'll be the 12th one I've seen. So I think,
but is there a person?
I'm not sitting there going, oh, boy.
So is there someone I should be excited to watch, or someone you think I should be up keeping my eyes out for? Because I, of course, have not been able to see 14 practices prior to this one.
Let's see. Be a couple guys that'd be interesting to watch.
Give me one on offense. Let's start there. Give me one on offense.
On offense?
Yeah.
I want to see two guys. I'll give you two guys: Cam Wallace and Quentin Martin.
Okay.
They would be two interesting guys to watch.
Why? Let's start with Wallace. Why Wallace?
Redshirt freshman, speed. But it gives me that Journey Brown feeling in that he's not just a speed back. Journey Brown learned how to run between the tackles. Cam can run between the tackles, right? And he brings an element of speed. Martin is an interesting player. Martin is a good running back with good vision. He is also has really good hands and is has the appearance of somebody that will have the potential to be a pretty good running back out of the backfield catching the ball. He is a long strider. He's a taller player. He is a long strider where you're watching him, and does it look like he's going fast?
But he's flying.
But then you realize he's eating up about 2 to 3 yards on each stride, right? And like, wait a minute, and nobody's catching him.
Yeah.
So he's intriguing.
Okay.
I would say on the offensive line, a guy like Nolan Rucci as a transfer
coming in.
One.
And then give me
Javen Williams. And Cooper Cousins, number 50.
Okay.
Watch number 50, Cooper Cousins. He's played both center and guard during the course of the spring. We'll see what they want to do with him tomorrow. But he bears a long look. In the wide receiver group, Saunders has been really good. Clifford's been really good. And then there's been maybe as the game goes, watch number 8, Tyler Johnson. TJ's been pretty good all spring. We'll see. You'll see if he can show out tomorrow. Defensively,
say give me someone in the cornerback room. Give me someone across the line we should be looking out for because of course cornerbacks we lost our 2 big guys.
Belgrave Shorter's been pretty good. Johnny Mitchell's been pretty good. These are younger players. I want to watch Kavion Keys more tomorrow.
Okay.
Tamir Robinson, because we already know Rojas. Rojas.
He's a professional.
Rojas is really good. Right.
He's an A1 level player. He's good.
I was talking about his weight gain with him yesterday because he came in at 195 and he's now about 229. And I said, now look, let's be honest. I can go from 195 to 229. I said, in 2 weeks, but I said, it wouldn't be healthy. I said, but I could do it. He's laughing. I said, what was it about putting on good weight? And he was talking about nutrition, about the weight strength and conditioning program, things like that. And then there was some specific meal he loves at Chipotle.
Oh, God.
And he says, I really like that, Steve. I said, okay. Let's see. Who else would I want to take a look at?
Is there someone on the line you're intrigued by?
I want to watch Smith Vilbert play more. I think people have kind of forgotten about him. And I don't think there's somebody that should be forgotten. The guy had 3 sacks against Arkansas in the Outback Bowl and has been hurt ever since. So the excitement level about his ability to play, you're like, okay, well, he's now back, and I think he's been playing really well. And I give him a lot of credit for that. Defensive tackle. I'm trying to think of between Ellies and Durant. Durant's been really good. Ellies, Durant, Kezai Izzard. I mean, you got
the guys we know are coming back and they're looking good.
Yeah, they're looking good. I know eventually. I mean, some people have asked about Xavier Gilliam. We'll see, but he'll play a lot in the game. 54. We'll see how Harvey plays at defensive end. I mentioned Shorter. I mentioned Mitchell. King Mack. I think King Mack, people kind of know who he is.
And then what does it look like in terms of the special teams, kicking, punting? How are we feeling going into this camp?
Riley Thompson's the punter. Tyler Dzansky's the long snapper. So they're solid.
That's set.
There.
And then kicker is the question.
Okay, in between Sanders Sahedic, who's very talented. Ryan Barker, who's had a really good spring. And then Mayer, the transfer from Tulsa, who was 17 to 20 last year at Tulsa. In field goals. He actually started his collegiate career at Penn. Did not kick at Penn.
Smart kid.
He was on the Penn football team. He didn't kick. And then he went to Tulsa where he kicked. So I'm asking a quarterback club yesterday, Anthony Donko. Yeah, Kezai Izzard's talking about telecommunications. Rojas talking about communications. Jamel Lyons wasn't sure. Oh, watch for Lyons, by the way.
Jamel Lyons.
Lyons is going to be a good player here. Lyons is really good. And Jamel Lyons, and that is how you pronounce it, by the way. It is pronounced Jamel.
Jamil.
Yeah, it looks like Jamil because I asked him. I said, like,
How do you pronounce your name? I'm going to have to say it this year, so how am I pronouncing it?
I actually asked him last year with the weekend. The week I knew he was going to play. I said, no, you're going to play this week. I said, how you say it? He told me. So I get to Donko. Donko had originally come in and was going to major in. It talked about majoring in mechanical engineering.
Okay.
Now he wants to do astronomy with it's
a shift.
Yeah, and it's like wow. Right? And I asked him, he said, well, I'm just fascinated by the heavens and stars. And I'm standing there going, I looked at everybody and said, I majored in broadcasting.
I majored in talking and saying words.
It's like, that's one thing that is marvelous about doing the quarterback club is during the course of the year, and the four guys yesterday had not done quarterback before.
Who'd you have yesterday?
We had Jamel Lyons, Tony Rojas, Anthony Donko, and Keziah Izzard. They hadn't done it before, which means that, what did we do? We have 13, so it's 26 players. No, we have more than that because we had 3 sometimes. It wasn't just 2, we had 3. So you're talking about, I think there were a couple we had 2, so let's say 35. So it's 39 players out of 124. And I think people would be stunned at the various interests that they have, and the various majors that they have. Yeah, now they were talking about all of them get together and they play this video game. So they're on these, and Rojas was explaining.
What video game is it?
I don't know, War or something like that.
Normally I'd be able to help you figure out what game it is, but just saying the word war doesn't get me far.
I'm just saying it's.
Yeah.
But they do it as teams, and I guess, hey, look, it's a stress relief.
I get it.
That's fine.
It's good. It's a good thing.
But they were doing that yesterday.
So going to this game, though, feeling good, excited to see the team play. And it should be a fun blue-white. Hopefully the weather holds out and is good, even though it's going to be cold.
Well, it's not going to rain.
It's just going to be cold, windy.
It's going to be windy, which will make it feel a little chillier. But they are going to let everybody on the field after the game for about 20 minutes.
But not you though. You're banned.
Oh, I'll be on the air. As much as we want Roger to take over at the end. Okay. But I always make the comment about how great it is when I see that happen. I mean, you can do all the marketing you want. But by letting people go on the field for 20 minutes after the blue-white game, that's a pretty good marketing tool that is so simple and costs nothing. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Little kids out there acting like they're scoring touchdowns, acting like they're throwing the ball, acting like they're catching the ball. Right? On the field at Beaver Stadium.
It's not bad.
Right? They are now fans for life because you did that. And that's, to me, has always been one of the, it's over, right? People, players are leaving the field, whole thing, and then they let the fans out there. Just that simple gesture means a mountain.
Yeah.
Think about when you were a little kid. It was a long time ago.
Hey, it wasn't that long ago. Okay. Might be old. I ain't that old.
For me.
Oh.
Right. And that was just the ability to do that. Yeah. I think that was that's really cool. And I love the fact they're going to keep doing that.
And changing away from blue-white, because there's only so much we can chat about with it. We'll chat more about it afterwards. We'll discuss it next week. But staying in the college side of things, we now know who Kentucky's going for with their coach is going to be Mark Pope from the Cougars from BYU. Yep. He, of course, was on the Kentucky team and a captain of the 96 national championship team. Right. And he's been at BYU for the past 5 years. Yep. So he is going to be replacing Calipari. This entire process has been really interesting when it comes to the coaches, because there are a lot of people who have publicly come out and said, I'm not leaving my job. So Nate Oates, Jay Wright said no. Scott Drew, Dan Hurley said heck no. Billy Donovan apparently hasn't been pursued, but there was a strong rumor that he would come back after the Bulls season because he'd probably get fired. So Billy Donovan was a possibility. Apparently no contact was made with Rick Pitino. There's just been a lot of like weird energy going around without this job, and now it's going to be Mark Pope's moving forward.
Well, first of all, I could sit here right now and I could throw out 7 or 8 names.
Would one of those names be Kyle by chance?
But I could throw out 7 or 8 names, right? Like, let's go back a year ago. Okay, the Penn State job is open. I could have sat here and thrown out 7 or 8 names. But it would just be me throwing out 7 or 8 names. Now, I have a greater responsibility than the people that throw out the 7 or 8 names do.
Yeah.
I mean, as the play-by-play voice of the team. So now, if I say something, it's a little bit different than somebody writing it because I actually may know somebody.
Yeah.
Okay.
You actually know things.
Right. So I could pull somebody aside that's in a decision-making area and go from there.
Yeah. So they're not going to be hiring Jerry Valeri as the head coach.
Well, no. I mean, if you want to go out and lose a bunch of games, lose fans, lose money, I mean, he's the perfect choice, right? Yeah. I mean, if we could put him on overnights where he's less dangerous, it'd be better. But, I mean, that's fine. Yeah. What's the best time for Jerry? I don't know, midnight to 4.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, perfect. But, you can do that. So whenever these stories come out, this is who they're pursuing. Hey, what about this person? All it is people throwing darts. That's all they're doing is throwing darts. Now, Pope, but you're trying to make sense about who would make sense. Well, it's Kentucky, so, I mean, Dan Hurley would leave UConn. No, he would not leave UConn. Right? Scott Drew, he'd leave Baylor for, we're Kentucky. No. All right? Billy Donovan, Billy Donovan, no. All right. And it's not like they got turned down by people either. I mean, they got turned down publicly by Hurley because he got asked about it because somebody reported. It doesn't mean Kentucky contacted him, right? Drew, it sounds like based on the reporting he got contacted. Okay, and he decided to stay. All right. Nate Oates, who knows if he even got contacted? Nobody, but he had to answer it because the media asked him about it. Pope, at least, is a guy that played at Kentucky. He was a captain at Kentucky. He makes sense. He has head coaching experience. He's done a good job at BYU.
Made the tournament.
Right?
Good team.
But he's done a good job at BYU. And this past season, he showed what kind of job he can do because they went from the West Coast Conference into the Big 12. As I pointed out many times, when I was talking about Houston this year, I said it is not an easy proposition in terms of I know with the transfer portal, the scouting's a little different these days because there's so many new players.
Yeah.
But you're still looking at all new teams that you have to scout for. I mean, BYU wasn't playing Kansas last year. They weren't playing Houston, right? They weren't playing those teams, right? They weren't playing Iowa State. So it's a whole new ball game in terms of, going places that you have not been to before, into arenas you have not been into before, and playing against personnel you have not played against because you got used to playing, at St. Mary's. We know what it's like to go to St. Mary's. For the most part, Bennett's teams don't change that much. Mark Few, we know what it's like to go up to the Kennel, play at the Kennel. Great. Yeah, he's recruited this guy, but some of the guys are still the same, Right? I mean, great. We're gonna go up there. Drew Timmy's still there, right? Rozier Bolton still there, right? Nebhart's still there.
As the Nemhard's still there.
Right? I mean, in other words, so in other words, okay, he's better at this. He's still the same at that. He's still vulnerable to this, because you can compare, as opposed to, okay, what does Iowa State do? And let's talk about their personnel. And it's a big learning curve to do that. And they did a good job with it this year. I mean, they did a good job with it. I mean, they ended up finishing 5th in that league and winning 23 games.
Not bad.
I mean, the guy's everybody knows he's a good coach. He's established, whether it was Utah Valley, which was a nice transition from Utah Valley up to BYU, and he's been there 5 years. He's done a good job there, and everybody knows he's a good coach. Is he a dynamic coach? Like Calipari was a dynamic hire. Rick Pitino was a dynamic hire. This is a good hire. It's you're not sitting there going, "Oh, Billy Gillespie, I don't think it doesn't really fit here." Right? He'll fit there. Okay. Now he has to do. Whomever they hired has to win. But people just throw out names, and part of this, and I'll tell you how part of this works. The agents for the coaches throw their name into the mix. Now, why do the agents of the coaches throw the name into the mix?
Because they want their people to get paid. And if they throw their name in, all of a sudden, let's say BYU wanted to try and keep Mark Pope, they'd say, hey, how does a nice new contract sound that's got more money in it?
How about an extension with more cash? Right?
Yeah.
It's all part of the game. So in other words, they give you names. I only want to know legitimately what's going on with that. Okay?
Yeah.
It's like, but I'm in the position, I could never say, right, who, what, where, why. And have I ever been asked before about coaches? Yes. Okay? I have.
Yeah.
It's not, it's, okay, just, privately in the K, what do you think of X? What do you think of Y? What do you think of Z? Like, that's happened. I've been here a long time. So it's not like over the period of time it hasn't happened. It has. Well, at that point, geez, when they do that, you sort of know what direction they're going in.
Yeah.
But that's what happens with all this. And the fact that it took a little longer was interesting. But in the end, they got it done. And now we'll see how he does. And we'll see, what does John Calipari do at Arkansas? Does John Calipari go into Arkansas and do the same thing he did at Kentucky with one-and-dones and things like that? Can he? Does he go to the older route? What does Mark Pope do? Does Mark Pope go the older route? What does the transfer portal mean? And we'll have to find out. It's a completely different era of collegiate sports because whether it happens to be football or men's basketball, the goal is to stay older. The Mike Bray theory. Well, when Mike Bray was doing it, we didn't have the transfer portal in. But there also is risk that takes place with the transfer portal. It is not the be-all, end-all, solve-all.
It's a crapshoot
as time has gone. I mean, look. Okay, Jalen Pickett comes in here and was phenomenal. It took him a while to become phenomenal. The first month and a half he was here, like, okay, all right. Right. But for every Jalen Pickett or Andrew Funk or Cam Winter, there are 3 other guys that you'd sit there and go, nice kids, but right?
Did anyone expect Dalton Knecht to become the second best player in the nation this past season? No,
of course not.
But he came in, did a job. But
my point is, but for every Dalton Knecht, how many are like, okay.
How many are Kyle Leffs? I get it.
No, but no, it's just another guy. They transferred, you gave it a shot. It's not going to work. You can still win with players that have been in and established in your program, like a Seth Lundy and a Miles Dredd and people like that. You can still do that because I think that's what Mike wants to do. Mike wants to get as many program guys as possible. Look, Ace Baldwin and Nick Kern are essentially 2 program guys.
Yeah, they've been with him
because they've been with him, all the way through, right? And now of course here at Penn State. Right, so in the end, Ace is going to be with him 5 years. So to me, he's a program guy. Okay, he may not be a Penn State, a Penn State recruited guy, but he's a program guy. Nick is the same thing. Nick was with him at VCU. Nick's now here. He's a program guy. The 4 guys that they've signed have the chance to all be program guys, right? Getting Zach Hicks back and Dunn, right? When you start and Puff, you start to get into that second year. Now you're starting to feel like you're getting a program going here. You're not just renting somebody for a year, but there is some trial and error with it. Now last year they were forced to get the 9 plus the 1 freshman, so they had 10 new guys. I mean, it's a hard way to live. Well, they don't have to do that this time through. Yeah, they still have 3 open spots, absolutely, and they'll fill it with 3 spots that they think that makes it a better, well-rounded team. But at least Mike now walks into a team meeting, and there's a foundation sitting there.
There are 5 guys coming back that know what they're doing, have been here before, and can say, hey, everyone else, follow our lead. We know what we're doing. Versus last year, it was just Ace and Nick. Now you've got 3 more added into that mix, and it just helps.
It helps a lot. And then you have 4 freshmen coming in, right? And that'll be a big plus. And then, of course, you already get Enzi coming in, who's going to play, and he is so anxious to get going. I mean, I could tell in talking to him, he's really anxious to get going. And I know they do have an official visit this weekend. But that's and then in football, you can miss whether it's recruiting or in the portal, you can miss on a couple of guys because there's so many out there.
Yeah.
But there's one you can't miss on. And it's the quarterback. Now, when you look at the Big Ten, Maryland will go with a transfer. Rutgers will go with Wimsatt, so that's a homegrown guy. Obviously, Drew Bowe doesn't matter. That's homegrown either way, right? Ohio State, Will Howard, transfer. Purdue, Hudson Card, he's a transfer. Wisconsin will be a transfer with Van Dyke. Right? You start going through all the guys, right? And a lot of schools have transfers in there. There are very few homegrown program guys. Nebraska's a transfer. Iowa doesn't matter. No, just kidding. I'm just joking.
Did you see? I
Tim
saw
Lester. Sorry.
Have you seen the stat that apparently, and I saw this and this made me giggle, that Caitlin Clark has scored more points in her 4 years at Iowa than the entire Iowa Hawkeye team did in football over that same span?
I think she scored more points this season.
Yeah, and they did over the 4-year stretch she was there.
Yeah.
Psychotic.
That's, no offense, that's not good.
It's not good at all.
It's not good.
Nope.
No.
But hopefully their offense gets more than 3 points a game. Maybe we'll take the over on an offensive game sometime.
No.
Maybe.
No. We'll see what Tim Lester wants
One can dream. One can dream, Steve.
We'll see what he wants to do with that. But there's the number of transfers at that position in particular. Interesting. Now, when you look at the national championship, the Final Four last year, J.J. McCarthy homegrown, Bo Nix transferred, Michael Penix transferred, right? And, of course, Quinn Ewers sort of transferred.
Kind of.
I mean, he did transfer.
Transferred, but he didn't actually go to college yet. And so it was
well, no, he was in college. He was at Ohio State.
But he was redshirted.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he got in for 2 plays. He handed off. Yeah.
It's a good handoff.
Well, no, I remember speaking at a place, I think it was Camp Hill. We can't land a guy like yours. And I said, just so you know, I said, a year from now, we're talking. I said, yours isn't going to be there.
Gone.
No, he's going to be. In fact, he may win the job this year. And I said, he's going to be 4th string running the scout team. He's going to transfer to Texas. Now, does that guy come up to you a year later and say, you were right? No, of course not. But you knew what the deal was. But yeah, Texas state law prevented him from getting NIL. He reclassified. He's always kind of just done things his way. You know, some people, it's great. That's the way it should be. Well, you know what?
Yeah.
You don't have to always do things your way.
Well, I have a question for you, and this is just a hypothetical here. Would you classify a transfer as Dylan Raiola?
No, because he signed.
He signed and then unsigned and then signed to somewhere else and did it again. His family moved and just.
Well, he didn't sign. He verbally.
I know. Verbally.
Look, there's a big difference. There's a big difference between verbaling and signing.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't. He was going to go to Ohio State.
And then Georgia.
Then he went to Georgia.
And then
played
Nebraska.
in Athens. Then he went to Nebraska. That happens. I don't know.
It was just wild.
He ended up signing. If he had signed with Ohio State, backed out, signed with Georgia, backed out, then went to Nebraska, then we could talk about that. But in the end, he went all the way through, and guess what? He went where his family went to school. Right? So, no, I don't classify him as that. No, and I think there's a good chance, like right out of the gate, they just go with him.
Wouldn't be the worst idea in the world. I want to move on to a sport I don't watch a lot.
Where the heck is Commuter Drive? That's what Channel 10 wants me tonight at 6 o'clock. I'm like, where the heck is that?
When you look at
because they renamed some streets.
Are you watching this week the Masters? Are you watching Augusta, Georgia?
I'm watching the Masters.
So how are you feeling? Tiger right now is 8 back of Homa and DeChambeau.
Look, Tiger. If Tiger can finish in the top 20, that'd be great. And I want look, and I think I'm not saying everybody's rooting for him, but I think with everything he's been through, I know I'm rooting for him to have a really great tournament.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that I've said that golf, the Masters, has always been incredible for golf, despite the fact people take pot shots at the Augusta National Club. Oh, they're this, they're that. Like, well, guess what? People no offense, but you can go and you can talk about all the issues, right? That's fine. But people want to watch golf with the beautiful green landscape, the dogwoods, the azaleas, and the best field that you've seen all year. All the stars are there. All the stars. And with this Live PGA split, it's important to say all the stars are there because I was just down at I did not play it, but I was down at TPC Sawgrass. And they just played the Players there, 3 weeks ago, whatever it was. 3-4 weeks ago, they played the Players Championship, and that always had the deepest, best field in golf. Because with the Opens, people can qualify and things like it's a little different. And the Masters only has 89. Okay, at least this year it's 89, but it's usually right around that number. So the Players always has the deepest field, right, of the best players. Not this year, because the Live players can't play in the Players. So there's no DeChambeau, there's no Mickelson, there's no Tyrrell Hatton, there's no Kim, there's no Koepka, there's no Dustin Johnson, and there's no John Rahm. Okay, they're all playing on the Live Tour. Well, Live has spent a lot of money. The Saudi Arabian consortium has spent a ton of money, and they've attracted almost all the stars. You're watching. I watched a few minutes of the Valero San Antonio tournament, which was the lead up into this, the Texas Open. Who are these people? I mean, they're obviously great players. And as I've said before, 8 billion people in the world, 160 have their tour car. You're obviously going to be great. But, I mean, what was the big break the Players caught? Scotty Scheffler won it. Wow. Like, a legitimate star won. The PGA Tour needed that. They didn't need what happened last week. And it's a playoff. I can't even tell you the name of the two guys in the playoff. I'm sat there going, all right, I'll watch some of this. But, it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, they still have Spieth. They still have McIlroy. I mean, and they have Scheffler, obviously. But the depth of it, okay, is a problem. And so now you have the Masters this week. Well, they're all there. I mean, DeChambeau, of course, obviously, there aren't many people who use a 3D printer to get their irons.
Mm-hmm.
He is a little different. But I'm going to sit there on a Sunday afternoon where it's going to be a little night. The Paterno Run, by the way, is also on Sunday. I'm emceeing that. But, you look at the leaderboard. Okay. So Max Homa, he's 2 under on the day, 7 under.
Strong today.
DeChambeau is not teeing off until
he's teed off in a minute. He's teeing off in a minute, yeah.
Scotty Scheffler doesn't go till 1:48 this afternoon. Then Cameron Young, who's very good.
3 under on the day.
Right. Is right behind them at 5 under par. Okay. But this is where, you need stars. And the Masters, okay, stars, and the golf course is a star.
There are certain courses that, have that star level quality where you're like, I just want to watch this for the course.
A star. I mean, so now you've got Homa, DeChambeau, Scheffler, Young. Okay, good players. Then you go down a little bit further. Look, Morikawa's there. Oh, great. Okay, I heard of him. Zalatoris is there. Heard of him. All right, Finau's there. Patrick Cantlay's there. McIlroy. Okay. And then Victor Hovland. I mean, these are all guys that
Brooks,
are under
Sergio,
par.
Justin Thomas, Xander Schauffele.
Right.
You keep going and going and going. There you go.
But, it's a mix. They're all there. I mean, Mickelson's there. He's playing. He was 1 over yesterday. Bubba Watson's playing in the thing.
I was going to say, the star so far of the weekend and the tournament in general has been Bubba Watson's daughter by a mile.
Right.
She's been all over social media everywhere. She's been putting and she's
he's
making
on
stuff.
Live too.
Yeah.
All right. And that's... Okay. It just makes a big difference now. It doesn't help when Jordan Spieth is 7 over.
7 over, yeah.
It doesn't help when Dustin Johnson is 7 over. Normally in November he carves this place up.
Tiger's currently 2 over, 1 over on the day, so he's tied for 45th at the moment.
Yeah, where is it?
He's down.
Where is Eldrick Woods here? There we go, 2 over. He birdied 3. He birdied 3 to get the even par, but then he bogeyed 4 and 5.
Yeah,
disgraceful. So they did a survey with some of the players, and they asked what would a solid handicapper play. They said, on this course. I said, I don't know if they could break 100.
Boy.
Well, no, but I mean, the courses. I know the fairways are a little wider, but there are a couple things about this course that people don't realize. Right? Of course, the length is one. There's no way you could play from the tips. No, I mean, nobody in this town could play from the tips, and I think break 100 on that course, even though there's some terrific golfers out there. I'm talking about from the tips.
Yeah, it's different.
Right? It's totally different. The other part is you can't get a feel for now if you play from normal tees, yeah, you can do it. In other words, hey, we got the white tee here, we got the whatever, but I'm talking about the tips, like over here would be the black tees, okay, where you lengthen that as far as you can go. It would be very difficult for a really good player to break 100. I think, obviously, those who are 5 handicaps and under could give it a real good run to get to maybe 90 or something like that, just as a guess.
On their day, they could probably get to about 90.
9 upper 80s, 90 if you're like a 5 handicap or better. But if you're like a double-digit guy that's 11 to 18, no shot. And because there are a couple things. One is, let's talk about the greens. Ultra fast, and the undulation is just you have to really take a lot of things into account when you putt there. speed to go with the undulation of the greens. The other part, too, is how do you handle the last 6 holes? And I don't mean the last 6 holes, oh, hey, they're really tough. No. At this point, you've been walking, and that course is up and down. You have TV does not do the hills justice of the up and down walk that you have to make and the conditioning you have to be in to play this course because it is so up and down.
Yeah.
Right? You even get to 18. 18, okay? The whole thing is straight up. Right? So which means you're not going to get as much on your drive to start with. Hey, I'm talking about the average player. Yeah. You can drive the thing down the middle, but you're not going to be where the pro is.
And to wrap us up, I want to shout out 40 years. This is his last one. Ending it after this. Vern Lundquist. Been there for 40 straight years, calling it. The
Vern Lundquist you see on TV, whether it's football, golf, basketball, he is the exact same guy off the air. He's one of the just really great guys I've ever run into. I've run into him a few times in my career. He's just a great guy. Right? Like the old Uncle Vern thing, well, guess what? He's just a really great guy. His father was a minister. And his father, and I think they were kind of hoping he'd go into that. And he's like, it's not for me. And he took a job at a radio station, I think in Davenport, Iowa, just across the river from Illinois. And eventually got himself to Texas. He got himself to a station in Austin. Then he got to Dallas. Well, when he got to Dallas,
WFAA,
which included not like and the big break was the play-by-play voice of the Cowboys. But when he was on WFAA or one of them, he did a show called Bowling for Dollars. Look, early in your career, you are forced, and I can attest to this, to sit there and go, okay, I'll just do it. Okay, but he did Bowling for Dollars. Right? But then when he finally got the break with the Cowboys, and then he got to ABC, then CBS hired him. And when CBS hired him, that changed a lot of things. You got the NCAA basketball tournament, right? You then got the, which meant working with Raftery for years. I mean, the two of them were phenomenal. And then when Penn State was in the 2001 tournament, got to the Sweet 16, it was Lundquist and Raftery that did it. And then, of course, the SEC, where he was phenomenal in the SEC, including working for a period of time with Todd Blackledge. And, of course, the Masters, all 40 years. I mean, with two of the greatest calls ever in your life. Tiger Woods, 16, and, of course, Jack Nicklaus, maybe. Yes, sir. Right? And, look, you can't rehearse that stuff.
You cannot. And
you can't rehearse it.
And we will chat Masters, and we'll talk Blue-White game coming up Monday after a nice weekend, Blue-White weekend here in Happy Valley. It's going to be a fun one, Steve.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Tomorrow, 2 o'clock, I know we're on at 1:45, and then Sunday will be the Paterno run into Beaver Stadium, finish the 50 to benefit Pennsylvania's Summer Special Olympics. So that'll be great.
It's a good weekend here in Happy Valley.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, a 7 Mountain Media production. Come back at 11 every weekday for analysis of the latest happening in the sports landscape. From college football to European soccer, Steve and Kyle cover it all on Sports Talk with Steve Jones.